Adobe told us before, the German cars are very popular. People love these cars. They figured out 80 million followers online. Now, in recent days, there's been a lot of talk about German car industry, but nevertheless, we are really keen to hear more from somebody working here and doing work here. And that's Nils Wollny, who's heading the digital department at Audi. And he is a big friend of Next because he used to be at Sinneschade, but now he's bringing Audi to this event and showing what they are up to. But let's first see the video.
The green flag is waved. Once everything is safe, Bobby is absolutely away. The first piloted car here at the Hockenheimring with Audi. This RS7 accelerates now towards the Nord curve of turn 1. You can see that, look, it's being steered by nobody. It's being controlled by the intelligence. A great line through turn 1, heading up now towards turn 2. Just look at the speed. We're approaching 180 kilometers an hour as we go into turn 2. Brilliant braking, all assured and controlled. You can hear the 560 horsepower being unleashed through 3 and 4. And now it's the Parabolica. As the tens of thousands of fans here witness history in the making from Audi piloted driving. This is a fantastic shot from our helicopter that is tracking the car. Now, this is going to be crucial. Heavy braking as the car reaches 220 kilometers an hour and brakes now for the hairpin. Brilliant line through the hairpin, measured, controlled, accurate, precise, and then the acceleration out of the hairpin as we head down towards turn 7 now. This is Bobby, and it's Bobby completely on its own with no driver in there, looking very assured and very comfortable. All the fans in the grandstand can hardly believe what they are seeing right now. This car is being driven by technology, by intelligence, and look at that line as it's straight through. Turns 9 and 10 absolutely perfectly, taking exactly the optimum line that you would expect a top racing driver to take. Heading down now towards turn 11, turns in, and now this, the Sachs turn, where racing drivers choose different lines. Now, Bobby here, choosing to hug the inside there, just a little bit of curve, unleashes the power once again. We have turn 13 and 14 to do before a lap at racing speed is completed by a piloted car. This has been absolutely perfect. Not 1 foot wrong. It has been precise as it heads towards the start-finish line. The absolute optimum lap as the car comes to a stop now. That was truly awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nils Wollny.
Thank you. So this event took place last October at the last race of the DTM race series at Hockenheimring, where the Audi RS7 piloted driving concept circled the whole Hockenheimring at race speed up to 240 kilometers an hour. And it was almost the same time when Audi did call and asking for joining their digital team last year. So how can one possibly say no if you see what you just have seen on the screen? So that's when I joined Audi in May this year, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about the impact that piloted driving probably will have on the one hand drivers or user behavior, and on the business world at the same side. So if you look at the topic of piloted driving or autonomous vehicles, currently it's on the top of the hype cycle at Gartner right now. So it's the perfect opportunity to talk about the topic at conferences. But no, the reason why I'm here today and talking about this topic, because the technology will probably reach its plateau of productivity in up to 5 to 10 years. So now it's a very, very important point to think and talk about the topic of piloted driving, since it will change a lot in the future. And if you look, there are different studies how the topic of, or the road to robots will look like. There are some estimations that we will be able to drive, or the cars will be able to drive fully autonomously by 2030. The line is quite linear in this development. That is due to the fact that there are many, many restrictions legally and ethically that still have to be overcome. But as you have seen, the technology is on a very, very good way to make this reality happen. And today, I'd like to focus on the field of fully autonomous or driverless cars. Since you might know, the Volkswagen Group is active in the field since the 60s. At Audi, we started basically working in this field in 2009, where our first prototype named Shelley, it was developed together with the Stanford University, climbed the Pikes Peak rally track in the US. And that's something very important. Audi tests autonomous driving or piloted driving on racetracks as well as on roads. What you have just observed at the Hockenheim Ring shows that we are testing at the limits. So because you have to be very precise, these are extreme conditions. And on the other side, you have the roads. You have seen it just in Rich's talk how complicated life in cities can be. So it's very important to test in these two extremes. So we started with Shelley in Pikes Peak 2010 when it climbed the hill. Then we had James, who was the first car that got a license to drive on the streets of Nevada in 2012, followed by Bobby, you just saw at Hockenheim Ring. And we also took Bobby to a racetrack named Ascari in Spain, where he took some passengers around the track. Early this year, we had Jack driving fully autonomously from San Francisco down to the CES show at Las Vegas, taking some journalists that took their hands out of the window, waved the cameras, and experienced how piloted driving under real conditions can look like. And last but not least, in summer this year, we had Robbie, which is kind of similar to Bobby, but 400 kilograms lighter, and we took him to the Sonoma racetrack in California, where he basically took on a race, a challenge, man against machine. So, and only just a few drivers managed to be faster on the track than Robbie. So as you can imagine, there are many, many advantages that come with piloted driving for drivers or users in general. First of all, and this is quite obvious, it will be more safe, because more than 90% of all accidents are caused by human errors. So if you would eliminate the bug human, you would have less accidents. Of course, it will be more efficient too, because the cars will use space and the infrastructure and energy supply in a much more efficient way, and it will be more flexible, because the University of Columbia calculated that if you would replace the 13,000 yellow cabs in New York City that are currently driving around in New York City, replaced by 9,000 fully self-driving cars, it would reduce waiting times for a cab from 5 minutes down to 36 seconds. So that's quite an improvement, will bring much more flexibility. And of course, it will bring more comfort. The one or other of you might experience stress while driving, especially on German autobahns. If you're not from Germany, it can be quite stressful. So it will be more comfortable to drive in a self-driving car or to ride in a self-driving car, because it will put down the stress level significantly. And there's another thing. If you look at Bobby, I think it will be more fun too, because piloted driving, if you really get the chance to get it in one of our cars we are testing currently on racetracks, it really feels like a roller coaster ride. It's you sit on the passenger seat, and of course we have somebody sitting in the driver's seat for safety reasons who can grab into the steering wheel if necessary, but you see them, and he has his hands on his legs, and the car just drives itself at race speed, 220 kilometers or more. That's quite fun. It's like a roller coaster ride. But there's some more things that are coming with piloted driving, because today we spend approximately 1 hour per day operating a car, driving to work, to a supermarket. So it's for the Western Hemisphere, it's about 1 hour we spend in the car. So by having fully autonomous or piloted driving cars, there will be an extra hour we can use for other things. So it will have an impact on our behavior, what we do, because while the car drives us somewhere, we will do other things. And we asked people what they probably will do if they are just riding in a car. And they answered several things. So 45%, almost half of them said, okay, I would use this time, this free time, this spare time for relaxation. So connecting with friends, or even closing the eyes. So it's sleeping. These are all the things that people probably like to do once the car drives itself. 30% said they'll use the spare time for work, and 25% said they'll probably watch movies or read a book, so they use it for entertainment purposes. And there's quite a difference between men and women, how you can imagine. So, of course, men prefer to work in the car, and women like the entertainment. That's at least what they said. So, all this will have an impact on business. And there's a lot written currently that digital pure players are entering the field of piloted driving or cars in general. Because if you just calculate the numbers, just with this 1 extra hour, the daily media consumption, or at least the daily visual media consumption, will at least increase by 10%. So that's why transportation is somewhat next on the disruptors list. Because if you look at Apple, most of our devices we are having from Apple cover 2/3 of our day. So you have your computer at work, you have your iPhone, everywhere else you go. You have probably your smartwatch on the wrist. So all the devices and all the solutions Apple offer cover already 2/3 of the day, and maybe even more, because if you wear your smartwatch during nighttime and it tracks your sleep, you even are connected to a device during that time. And with Apple CarPlay, or you take Google Car and Google Android Auto, you even get the operating systems of this digital pure players entering the car as well. But what is very interesting is this extra hour of driving is quite interesting for those pure players, because they can sell their solutions in this time. But there's something else. Richard already said it. It's more than 95% of the day that a car remains unused. It's just parked somewhere. So the consequence will be our car will do other things as well while we are at work, for example. So in my opinion, piloted driving will become the heartbeat of our future economy. That's very important. It will be the core transformative technology for a lot of things. And I'd really like to stimulate these thoughts to think about what piloted driving technology can really mean. So if you have it at the core for everything else, you have all the advantages like more time, more fun, more efficiency, more flexibility, more safety, and at the end of the day, more comfort as well. It affects different industries. Of course, it affects the automotive industry, it affects the logistic industry, it affects the retail industry, the travel industry, and the public sector. Because if you go into detail, less accidents mean less spare parts for cars, so it somewhat affects the aftermarket of cars. That is quite big right now. And it also affects the production of cars, because we might need different types of vehicles in the future. At Audi, we still believe that in the future, a driver always, or a passenger, always needs to be empowered to get the steering wheel into his hands if he wants, but still, cars will look different, probably. And if you look at the transportation and logistics sector, a lot of things will change. Your delivery services will change. You just order something just with a click and it comes to you. Taxis, we already talked about this. This is quite a famous example. This will change. But also removers and rental and mobility concepts, they will totally change due to this technology. The finance sector will change because you need different types of insurances. Today, the driver and the car is insured. What will be insured in the future if there are smart mobility grids of self-driving vehicles? Health sector is influenced by this as well, because of course the doctor can easily transport the patient to the hospital. Richard already stressed this point as well, but you also have the possibility to get disabled, blind people to experience the pleasure of driving and going somewhere. And this will affect the public sector in terms of infrastructure, in terms of energy supply. It will affect the public transportation. And if you look at the other sectors, like the travel industry, why should I enter a plane in Hamburg going back to Munich with 250 other people if I have the chance to enter my individual space, my car, that just takes me at almost the same time in the future down to Munich? So it will somewhat disrupt existing industries in this field as well. And retail will be different because the stores can go to the people. So maybe in the future there will be retail chains that do not have any real estate, no shops in the city center, because they have just basically fluid stores that drive to the people that order the different things. So the point I'd like to stress here is the technology changes so many sectors, and this is just a selection of industries that are affected and different fields that are affected. And at the same time, it opens up so much space for future new industries, for new solutions we cannot imagine yet. And what I'd like to do is invite especially startups in this field or thinkers in this field either to join us at AUDI or at least talk to us and find ways how we can really exploit this new technology. Because this is a strong belief and core belief. This technology is still in the hands of automotive manufacturers. They're leading this field, and we still have the power to change a lot of things. And I think it's a very, very good starting point, since now it's at the peak of expectations. It will go down. The next 5 to 10 years, we'll work on different business models. And this is kind of an invitation. So autonomous driving or piloted driving will not just change how we will move in the future. It will definitely change how we will live. And I'd like to give you another invitation for this afternoon, because what we did is, because Bobby can't be here today, he's still at the IAA Auto Show. So what we did, we took the Oculus Rift and we filmed Bobby driving the Ascari racetrack. And if you want to experience how this feels sitting on the passenger seat of this car driving a racetrack, you can try on the Oculus Rift. We prepared it at the NEO, and you just sit in the passenger seat and drive with Bobby, and you can basically look around on the back seat and really feel how it might be sitting in a car with no driver, because in this film there is no driver, so you can really experience how it feels, without the vibrations, of course, but it comes really close to what it might feel. And actually, I'd like to invite you again to send me an email if you like to talk about this topic and explore the different fields, since we are currently in the stage of investigating what the technology might be able to do for us, besides the traditional customer benefits we have in our cars than with piloted driving technology, and say thank you, and hopefully see you later at NEO trying on the glasses and how it feels driving with a piloted car. Thank you very much.
Niels, come take a seat. I have, of course, more information than most of us on the progress on the driverless cars. Just, I know it's a guesstimate, but when? When will we have them in our streets?
Yeah, that's a good question. So by 2017, in the next Audi A8, there will be partly autonomous functions. So you'll be able to experience it in daily life. At that time it starts, but as I said, 2030, 2040, it will be fully autonomous probably, but we don't know.
So what functions will be in there that already facilitate?
So it's like for traffic jam, you can drive up to 60 miles per hour, 60 kilometers per hour fully autonomously in this situation. If there is a traffic jam, for example, you just press a button, the car takes over, and it tells you when to take back the steering wheel.
And what if you press that button anywhere else? I mean, just driving around in the city?
Yeah, it takes over then.
Takes over. So it's more a question of if it's allowed to happen, then... Because there's some areas in the world where they think, okay, it's like wanting to be a smart city, now everybody wants to be a driverless car city. Where do you think we'll see most of this first? What areas of the world?
So California is quite advanced in this field, and as I said, Nevada was one of the first states that allowed us to test piloted driving on real roads. Yeah. So they're quite advanced in this field. But also in Germany, the A9 between or close to Munich, there is a section where we are allowed to test autonomous driving currently.
Okay. So. And do you then put a dummy in the car so as not to scare the other drivers too much? Because I can imagine if you just pass, I mean, it will have accidents of its own just because of people watching the driverless car, right?
Yeah, it's for sure people have to adapt to this new technology, and you have to do this very carefully. And for us, piloted driving means at first more comfort for the driver. So, and of course, you have to look at the different fields, and that's why we're testing.
I mean, right now when you test it, do you put a driver there just?
Yeah, of course. You always have to have a driver sitting there. He's not taking control of the car, but he has to sit there because in case something goes wrong, he has to get the steering wheel back in a sense.
So
that's for sure.
That's
for sure.
So is there a little sign on the car say this is a driverless car, so that next time
we
you guys are driving them?
Piloted driving written on the side of our cars. Yes.
Oh, okay. So next time you drive there, you know what you see. There's this other thing that we mentioned before. I mean, to allow this to function, you need a lot of data about the world, and the world is changing. So, I mean, Audi makes the car with the sensors and the systems, but what data do you use? I mean, there's a big, competition going on with Google and TomTom and other people. Where do you take the data? I mean, whose data world is this that you are driving the car in?
So first of all, at Audi we believe the data always belongs to the driver or to the human.
Yeah, but I mean the data of the
surroundings.
Streets and the surroundings.
Yes, you take it from maps and sensors and GPS. So there are different systems and they're all in parallel. So if one system doesn't work, the other takes over. So it's it needs to be very secure.
Is it
so
your own?
Different sources.
It's your own data.
It's own development. Yeah, it's own development.
Okay.
And of course you have map data, but yeah. The rest, the sensors, it's all Audi technology.
Okay, so then you will have a competition between the different car brands on who has the best, cloud.
Yeah, they're all working on it. So, and that's a good thing.
How many people in this audience are from the working for or with the car industry? Can we have a raise of hands? I see. Yes.
They're all from Audi, probably, except you.
Not all of them. Not all of them. I've got somebody here right in front who's not from Audi. I actually know who it is. It's Roland Kepler. Yeah, if you just stand up, because you're doing an interesting thing. You are also from working in the car industry, but you're doing the car to go. The use something for a moment, the peer-to-peer. How does that connect to the driverless car world?
I would describe it as a first step to the driverless car, because people want spontaneously automobile mobility. They want to get access to a car, but don't want to own it anymore. And at the moment, yes, they had to look after for the car, walk to it, rent it, drop it somewhere. In future, the car will come to them autonomously. They drive wherever they want to. They get off the car and parking is done autonomously. So for me, the car-to-go concept is a first step towards this direction.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to our discussion we have this afternoon. I think it's 4:15. You can join us, because at Audi we think a little bit differently about this. But so join us later.
Okay. I think you have cars in Amsterdam, for instance, that are all electric, and in Amsterdam the thing with car-to-go is you can put it anywhere you want. I mean, with it's a different system than some of the other car-sharing services where there's only 2 parking spaces and you have to go there. I mean, cool.
Indeed, it's free floating. You can park everywhere. Everything is included. You pay per minute, no commitment. So it's very easy and very flexible.
Now, thank you. This is just an example, I think, with Uber or Car2Go. I mean, they're all chunks building towards this future. Because the driverless car, the sharing, that will all overlap, right? There will be...
Sure. It's like with all the other cases we have seen this morning. So you have a convergence of different technologies, different industries. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the piloted driving is a core technology to transform a lot of other industries as well. You just have to think about it differently than just assisted driving in a car.
I said, my grandmother was born in 1907, I think, and she was born before, you know, you had planes and cars for everybody. And then my kids are born before the driverless car. They will get to see all of this. So will we. We are going to round up this session because we're moving to the next session. Niels, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
thank you.
See you this afternoon for the driverless car.
Thank you. Thanks.